gumdrop forest, but you'll never make it through Lollipop Land.
King Candy, where are you? Please hurry.
Bye-bye, King Candy. I love you. I mean, I don't love you. Sorry, I can be such a dick.
Alright, today we have to make it through Lollipop Land.
Yeah, and according to my map, it's just around the corner.
That's true, but what your map reads out is that there's huge gates blocking Lollipop Land, and we don't even have a key.
Is there someone we can call?
Yes, let me call Lady Lollipop. She knows everything about Lollipop Land. We need your help. Send us for straight to Miss Candy, Queen Candy, and I need to get through Lollipop Land. We can't do it without you. What should we do? Okay, wait. What, really? We can't eat the candy? And we have to sing?
What did she say?
Lady Lollipop said in half we need to find a giant piece of chocolate that we can melt into the shape of a key, and then we can open the gate. But we can't forget to sing the raindrop song while the chocolate is melting, or the key won't work.
What's one problem with that? We don't have any chocolate.
Does anyone see any chocolate out there? Sorry.
I'm not very good singer.
Does anyone see any chocolate out there? Anyone see any chocolate? Oh, I have some. I just have some in my pocket because I'm King Candy after all. There's some. M&M's. Thank you for holding that chocolate for me. Alright, let's follow the instructions. We all need to hold the chocolate up towards the sun at the right angle. Maybe the sun's that way. I don't know. And don't forget to sing.
What are you guys doing? You look like a bunch of broccoli sprouts.
We are trying to melt this chocolate into the shape of a key so we can rescue King Candy. Thanks to you.
Don't listen to him. Let's keep trying.
Yes, let's do it!
All the raindrops, raindrops, and gumdrops. Oh, what a rain that would be. I'm sitting outside with my mouth open wide. Long enough for the chocolate to melt.
Oh, this is great. You will never get that up. I applaud your efforts, though. Yeah, a little bit more to the left. Maybe a little bit more to the right. Oh, just a little bit higher. You guys are not going to get it.
It's no use, guys. We have to think of something else.
Let's try one more time. Trust us.
Okay, this has to be the last time.
Okay, on the count of three, we go on three. 1, 2, 3.
All the raindrops, and gumdrops. Oh, what a rain that would be. It's a key!
That did not just happen.
We are one step closer. Now, do you trust me to get you through Lollipop Land?
Yes, we do.
We will see about that.
Thank you, friend, for helping me get the key.
You know, all these scary moments remind me of a story in the Bible.
Which one?
Tell us, tell us, tell us! Well, I'm thinking of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They trusted in God even though Nebuchadnezzar was going to throw them into the fiery furnace.
And what happened?
They showed the utmost bravery. They told Nebuchadnezzar that even if they were to die, they would bow down. They would never bow down to him or his idols.
Kind of like us?
Well, not exactly like us. Thankfully, our lives aren't in danger, but it takes bravery to stand up for the truth.
So, tell us more.
We will have to go to story time to find out. But it really has a good ending.
Speaking of friends, do you people have any friends?
No.
How many friends? Are any of them locked up like Queen Candy? Are any of them waiting for you to rescue them? Do you trust your friends? Now, King, do you want to hear your precious friend that I have locked up somewhere?
Not for long. Let's see her.
Here she is.
Please hurry. There are no treats and I'm getting sad.
Hurry, there's no treats and I'm getting sad.
Laugh now, Senator Sweet Tooth. We're on the way, my queen.
Please hurry.
Now let's go save the queen. All right, guys, we're going to be dismissed to our first classes. Again, I'm going to sing a song, and we're going to be dismissed from the youngest to the oldest. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong, victory that he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me.
Okay, well, welcome to the second night of Education Bible School. Glad that you are here as adults. Our guest tonight is Jordan Alper from the North Recreation, and he will be speaking on Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. All right. Also known as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So we'll just turn over you, we'll hear through, we'll be back up here. Be dismissed.
Go ahead and invite you to open up your Bibles to Daniel chapter 3. Daniel chapter 3, that's where we're going to be spending our time this evening if you're not there already. 'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, just to know, thus saith the Lord. Those words are really beautiful, aren't they? Those words are really beautiful, especially when everything is going really well. They are. They sound wonderful when all of my bills are paid, when my health is good, when my family is thriving, when my life is going like I want it to and things are smooth. But the real question is this that I want us to examine and look at tonight. Are we going to trust in him when the furnace is hot? Anybody can trust in God when the diagnosis is good, right? When things are simple, when things are going the way that we think they ought to, when things are comfortable, trust in God is usually pretty good. Anybody can trust in God when our marriage is thriving, when we're getting along with one another, we're enjoying our company together. Anybody can trust in God when I have my job. I know it's secure. I know that I can go there and work many, many years in that profession. But I want to ask you this, what does my faith look like when trusting in God it's going to cost me something? What does it look like in those moments? What about this? What about when trusting in God it's going to threaten your comfort? That's what it's going to do. It's going to threaten your comfort. It's going to threaten your relationship. It's going to threaten your friendship. It's going to threaten your finances. Even this, what does it look like when it threatens my future? What does my trust in God look like then? And that's where Daniel meets us in Daniel chapter 3. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego here in chapter 3, verses 16 through 18. I kind of want to make that our focus point of tonight. Let's read that together before we proceed. Daniel chapter 3, verses 16 through 18. It says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. This passage teaches us several truths about trusting in God. The first one is this: we need to trust in God even if it means that you and I have to stand alone. I want you to imagine the scene here. They're sitting there, and they're before thousands of governmental officials on the plain of Dura. And here they are, and the music begins to play, and everybody bows down, right, to this image that Nebuchadnezzar has created. Don't you know it would have been convenient? It would have been real convenient for Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego just to bend down and to tighten up their sandal straps, wouldn't it? Just right there in that moment, it would have been mighty convenient, and they could have justified that in a lot of different ways. They could have said, well, you know what? God needs me here. He needs me to influence the people. He needs me to lead them. And so if I just bend down and tighten up my sandal strap and they think I'm bowing down, well, that's on them. You been there before? Where you're facing this moment of truth of whether or not I'm going to give in to what the world wants me to do, or whether or not I'm going to trust in God, and we have a decision to make. And so everybody's bowing down except for three individuals. Three individuals standing here, and perhaps the sun is shining in such a way on them that the shadows of their stature is cast over those that are bowing down. People are looking around. They're drawing attention to themselves. Everyone is doing it, except for them. Except for them. An entire crowd kneeling, and they remain standing. The pressure must have been enormous. I don't know about you, but I've never been in a situation quite like this. I'm not saying I haven't been in a situation in which my faith has been tested, but I've never been in a situation quite like this. You know, that furnace, it was real, wasn't it? The threat that Nebuchadnezzar made, it was real. Just go back sometime and do a study on King Nebuchadnezzar, and that guy was ruthless. He would take your life in just a moment, and he would not lose an ounce of sleep. It was very real. The consequences were real, but yet they stood. They did it anyways. One thing that I appreciate about them is this, and you'll know what I'm talking about, is that these men in this moment right here, and evident from this moment their entire lives, they were not rebels. Have you ever noticed that? That a lot of times that we stand up for God the strongest is when it's the hot topic of the moment, and we kind of want to stick it to the man and tell them they can't tell us what to do. We're serving God. Well, let me ask you, where was that attitude before it was on the front headline of the news? Where were you at talking about protecting the children before abortion ever became a thing? Where were we at talking about the life that you and I are given, that is from God and that we're made in His image? Where were we at? What were we doing? You see, this moment here, these men, I don't want you to confuse it. They are not standing up out of rebellion. They're standing up out of trust in God. They have faith in Him. This is what they've been doing all along. They weren't trying to be difficult. In fact, knowing them, how they responded to King Nebuchadnezzar here, they didn't even want the attention they were getting in this moment. You know what they simply wanted to do? They simply wanted to obey God. That was it. That was all. Some Christians think that. They think that faithfulness to God means that I need to make a scene. They simply obeyed. The world, it's always tried to get us to conform, right? Romans 12 in verse 2 talks about that, a very famous passage. You can probably quote it, be not conformed to this world. The pressure for you and me today, it may not be a big statue that you and I need to bow down to, that the world tells us we need to bow down to. Pressure more likely comes from this, comes from our coworkers. When I'm there at work, in the entire work setting, everybody's talking this way, they're telling these jokes, they're talking about these people, they're disrespecting the boss, they're not doing what they're asked. In those moments, it's real. Perhaps it's on social media. Great influence over you and me, far greater than what we would like to admit. I work with youth. I know what it is that they face, and I know that we as adults, we like to do this. We like to say the youth are the ones that are so affected by social media. Do your head like this. Because if you're on it, you're affected too. Whether you know it or not, whether you're willing to admit it or not, what you saw today on social media influenced the decision you made. It did, whether good or bad. May come from the government, like they were facing here, this pressure. This one's hard. It's very personal. Those things are exterior. Maybe we can conquer those. Maybe we can come over those. But what about when our family is pressuring us? Right? What about maybe when my spouse's faith is not what it ought to be? What about when my kids are having this function or thing going on and it's going to conflict and interfere with something that I need to do for God, that He expects for me to do? What about in those moments? The world says, bow. Compromise. Just this once, bend down and tighten up your sandal strap. It'll be okay. It'll be fine. Everybody else is doing it. Faith says this, though, I belong to God. I'm His. It's not just young people that need to hear this. I need to hear this. You need to hear this. You may be the only Christian at your job. You may be the only Christian in your family. My last name is Alker, okay? I've been there at Northport for 5 years now. We have 5 elders. I don't know if any of them can say my last name right. So if you don't, you can say it later, that's fine. But you know, my last name right there, I'm changing the family tree with me. Okay? So you may be the only one. It may only be you. You felt alone? I have. I can imagine the feeling. Think about this. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are standing there, and they're surrounded by people everywhere. Did you know that the presence of a crowd doesn't mean that you're not alone? I would imagine they felt very alone in that moment. Standing there before the governmental officials, looking around, looking at all of the Babylonians, looking at their fellow Jews that they know should know better, yet aren't doing better. Talk about feeling alone. 3 men. 3 men standing with God. I want you to know this, they're always the majority. You see, we think majority in terms of numbers, right? Population, size. I want you to start thinking of this in percentages. Because see, you see, when we have God, that's the greatest percentage. We are the majority. He has us on His side in that moment. We don't need to fear standing alone amongst the world. The sweetest trust, it's demonstrated oftentimes when nobody else is standing with you. Trusting God means believing in His power. Notice what it says there in verse 17. It says this, our God, whom we serve, is able. Our God, whom we serve, is able. I love those words. Our God is able. Not our God might be able. Not our God used to be able. Not our God could have been able. No, our God is able. Before they ever discussed whether or not God was going to save them, they settled whether God could save them. There was never any doubt. Do you think that the furnace made God nervous? You know what Nebuchadnezzar thought? Why he was acting the way he did? He thought he was God. He thought he was the God of the fire. And do you know what God ended up showing him in the end? That's my fire. And those are my people. And both of them belong to me and not to you. You're not the God of them. The flames didn't limit God. It didn't change anything for him. The faith, it began when they had confidence in the power of God. I do this. And I think if we were all honest, you do too. Sometimes we spend so much time worrying about the circumstances that I'm in that I forget who God is. I'm thinking so much about the circumstances that I'm in that I forget who God is. Let me give you an example. Something comes up in my life, some kind of problem. What's my first response? I pick up the phone and call somebody. Men, I know you can relate to this. Ladies, I'm not sure how you do it, but I know I do this. Men are fixers, right? And we start formulating a plan of how we're going to fix this and overcome this and everything's going to be all right and how I'm going to achieve this. Or do we do this? Do we go to God in prayer right then? Do we say, God, I don't know the outcome. I don't know what's going to happen with this. I don't know where I'm going to be, but I want you to know this, God, my trust is in you. And you know what? If you deliver me from this, I knew you could from the beginning. But even if you choose not to, my trust is in you. The God we serve, He created the universe. He did things like parting the Red Sea, raises the Son of God from the dead. He's able. He's able. Ephesians 3 and verse 20 says, now unto Him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask, and then listen to this, I really like this part, or think. Or think. Sometimes when we pray, we could go back and listen to ourselves. We can reveal how little or how big our God is. Can. The way that I think, the way that I pray, the way that I talk about God, we act as though as if our problem is bigger than God. It's too great. It's too hard to bear. The doctor's report, I want you to know this, it isn't bigger than God. It's not. The financial crisis that you may be in, it's not bigger than God. The erring child that you have is strayed away, they're not bigger than God. The challenge that the church may be facing in the local area, that's not even bigger than God. God is able. God is able, and trust begins by remembering who God is. Trusting God means this, submitting to His will. Submitting to His will. This is the heart of the text and where I'm going to really focus. Verse 18, it begins with these three words, but if not. But if not. If you ask me to pick the greatest statement of faith in this text, this is it. Those three words, but if not. They believed wholeheartedly God could save them, but you know what else they knew? He may choose not to. Man, you talk about looking down the barrel of the gun, right? Like it's right there. It's staring you in the face. And do you know what most people are going to do? They're going to compromise. They're going to compromise. They're going to give in. Because you know what? In that moment, it's real. On this side is life. On this side is death. And based on what you do or say, that's which side you're going to be on. But if not. Think about that. A lot of people have a lot of trust in God because if God can give me the outcome I want, then things are good, right? If God's going to give me the outcome I want, if God's going to heal me, I'll trust in God. If God will help me through this financial burden, well, then I'm going to trust in God. If He opens this door, if He fixes this problem, well, I'll trust in God then. Biblical faith, though, says this, you know what, I need help. I want to get through this. I want to get on the other side of this. But I trust in God even if I don't. Even if He should choose not to. It's exactly what these men were saying. Our God, He can deliver us. He can. But I want you to know, Nebuchadnezzar, and you can go back and you can read it. And while I agree, I don't think that they beat around the bush a whole lot with their response to Nebuchadnezzar. I think that they were very respectful to him still. And they said, look, I want you to know that our God can save us. But even if He chooses not to, King, we want you to know that it's not going to change anything about how we trust in God. Nothing. That's mature faith. That's surrendered faith. That is trust. Sometimes God does do that. He does calm the storm, doesn't He? What a blessing that is. Sometimes He doesn't calm the storm, but He calms me, right? Or He calms you. Sometimes He removes the trial. Great lesson of Daniel 3. Maybe if you've gone through and studied this before, you've asked the question, why didn't God just eliminate the furnace? Like, why couldn't this have been the day that they had trouble getting it lit? Right? Why couldn't this have been the day that they could not bring it to temperature? You know, God didn't remove the furnace. He simply went and stood in the furnace with them. That's what He does with you. That's what He does with me. God often accomplishes His greatest work when we're facing hard times. Paul prayed 3 times, right, for his thorn in the flesh to be removed. You know what God said? No. No. Jesus prayed in Gethsemane, if it be at all possible, let this cup pass from me. God, if there's any other way to save the world, let's do that, please. God said, no. He submits His will to the Father. Faith is not demanding that I have my way. It's not. Faith is trusting in God's way. What's hard about that a lot of times is I don't understand it. I don't always understand it. And you know, you and I understand that concept though, don't we? If you've had children before and you tell them to do something and they ask why, our favorite response is this: because I said so. Right? And you know, when we get to be adults, we think, that doesn't apply to me no more. It does. It does. We don't always have to understand to be obedient, okay? God says jump, and we jump. That's what we do. Lord, I know you can. But God, even if you don't, I want you to know this: I still belong to you. I'm yours. Trusting God, it means this: loving Him more than life itself. Notice something remarkable. These individuals here, they don't mention heaven. They don't mention the rewards. They don't mention all the people that may talk about them later. They never even ask for guarantees. They simply do this: they refuse to abandon God. I'm not going to do it. Why? Because God was enough. God was enough. I know you know this, but I hope that you'll give a little bit deeper thought to it tonight. Their relationship with God was more valuable to them than their own physical lives. If I started right here, and I worked my way around this room, and I asked the question, what is the most valuable thing that you have in this life, in the physical world here? The right answer is this: life. But Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego said this: but that pales in comparison to my God. My life, my physical life, God Himself, it was enough. That's a challenge for us today. That's a challenge for you. That's a challenge for me. There's moments where we treat God as a means to an end. I used to do a jail ministry. A preacher, been there for probably 40 years now, that I would walk into that jail with. He would sit down there and he would talk to people. He had been talking to them for a long time. He had been teaching them for weeks on out. Maybe they had made some good progress. And some of them not so much. And their intentions were made known through their actions. And so he would make a statement to them to get them to really think about what it was that they were doing. And he would say this: God doesn't answer jailhouse calls. Okay? Meaning this is that when I am in jail, that is not the time to begin to develop my faith. My faith should have been developed before I ever got there. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong to have your faith developed there. But that shouldn't be the motivation. It shouldn't be, I want God now because I'm in trouble. I want God now because He's a flotation device and He'll keep me from drowning. And then as soon as you get out and things get better, we'll do just like the people did in the book of Judges, and we'll just go right back. And we'll repeat that process over and over and over again, won't we? God doesn't want that. We want blessings. We want protection. We want comfort. We want success. This next part is hard, because I've been guilty of it. True faith treasures God Himself. Job said this: though He slay me, yet I'll trust in Him. Paul said, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. The apostles, they rejoiced when they suffered for Christ. Why would they do something crazy like that? because they loved Jesus more than they did comfort. The reason Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego wouldn't bow is where the rubber meets the road, where you and I need to do some self-reflecting, where you and I need to go back and think about the times that we've given in. Think about the moments right now where we have compromised our faith and we're not living for God the way that we should. The true answer why Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did not do it is because their love for God was so great. Nothing else mattered. Nothing else was that important. The king, he could take their freedom. He could take their positions. He could even do this. He could take their lives. But do you know what he couldn't take? He couldn't take their devotion. He couldn't. Didn't matter what he did. Didn't matter how hard he tried. He could not change it. Each Christian eventually faces this question. Now I want you to ask yourself. Now I want you to be honest. What would it take to get you to compromise on your faith? What would it take? Would it be something small? Would it be something major in your life? Would it be losing somebody that you really cared about? What would it take to get you to compromise on your faith? There's only one right answer. Nothing. Nothing. Right back there sits my wife. And she is just as pretty as can be. She's a good wife, and I love her to pieces. But I've told her before this, is that if she should decide that she doesn't want to go to heaven anymore, I'm going to have to go without her. That'd break my heart. I'd struggle every day that I had breath. But you know what? As much as I love her, I love God more. I do. What would it take to get you to compromise your faith? These men had already answered that question. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What time do I stop? When I'm done. All right, good deal. We got 30 more minutes. All right, trusting God creates a powerful witness. One reason that God allows us to go through trials is because of this. It reveals our faith. I could talk a lot. I promise to try to end soon. We could all sit here and talk about our faith, right? But you know what? When your faith is called out on the carpet, I've noticed that not a lot of people want to go ahead and step on out there. We don't. And I'm not saying we should go out and dare God and test and do all those things. But when a real situation comes, and it's time for faith to go into action, we're not so crazy about that. I'm not so excited about that. Nebuchadnezzar, I would dare to say he had heard about the God of Israel before. But now, he sees faith in action. The greatest testimony here, it wasn't a sermon that he was given by them like I'm doing here tonight. It was their courage. You know what the world does? The world pays attention to when me and you are facing hard times. They do. And a lot of times they do it so that they can criticize you and say, see, I told you you were a hypocrite. That's on them. That's not on us. But the world notices how we respond whenever I'm diagnosed with cancer. How are you going to respond? The world notices that when we lose our job, and maybe it's public, the world notices how you're going to respond to that. Whenever my heart is broken by someone, by something, the world, it notices. When life is falling to pieces and it doesn't seem like anything is going right, the world's watching. Anybody can trust in God when everything's perfect, when it's going like it's supposed to. Christians continue trusting in God when they're suffering, I want you to know the world notices that too. Think about the Babylonians that are there, and they see Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego standing. Do you know what? I bet they hated them. I bet they couldn't stand them. I bet they uttered all kinds of things as they see them standing there while everybody else is bowing. But you know what I'd like to think? I don't know. But I'd like to think this, is that they had to respect them. They had to respect them for the faith that they had to stand anyways, knowing what the consequences were. I might not like you. I might not appreciate you, but I sure do appreciate your faith. The world, they're going to notice. Why am I going through this? I'm sure we've all asked that question. Maybe it's because somebody needs to see your faith. Maybe. Perhaps it's because somebody needs to see the grace of God at work. Perhaps it's because somebody needs to see what a genuine love and trust in God is. Your furnace, it may be accomplishing far more than what you realize. You see a burden. God sees an opportunity. Trusting in God means knowing that you never face the furnace alone. The king goes over and he looks into the furnace. All right? Think about this. Remember, we oftentimes treat this as a children's story, but if this were a movie, you wouldn't take them to see this, okay? Right? The king walks over and in his mind expects to see three men that has their flesh melting from their bones. But instead, what does he see? Four living men walking around. Fine. Nothing wrong. One of the most beautiful truths of this passage here is that God was with them. The miracle was not that they survived. That was not the cool part. It was that God was present there with them. Isaiah 43 in verse 2, it says this, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned." I want to focus in on the promise here. God didn't say, you won't pass through a fire. If you're a child of mine, you won't. He didn't say that. But he did say this. He promised to be with us in that fire. You may be going through a storm. You may be going through a season of life. And you would wish that you never had to face it, that you never had to go through it. God doesn't promise that. God says, I'll hold your hand while we walk together. I'll be there with you. I'll encourage you. I'll support you. I've asked the question before, God, why me? Where is God? And let me just be honest with you. The reason is because the flames seem so overwhelming. The burden seems so heavy. The weight on my shoulders is so great. I want to tell you this, the Christian never suffers alone. Never. Jesus tells us that he is with us. Not sometimes. Not occasionally. Always. The furnace, all it did was reveal what was true all along. God had never left them. God had never left them. He's never left you or me. I believe that this text, this entire chapter, is found in those three simple words, but if not. But if not. Those words reveal this, the difference between faith and preference. That's what they do. Preference says, I'm going to follow God so long as things are going my way. So long as things are going good. Faith says this, life isn't great right now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to meet the financial needs that I have. My health isn't what it ought to be. My children have left God and they don't care anything about Him. But you know what? I'm going to follow Him anyways. I'm going to trust in Him anyways. Preference. Trust God for outcomes. Faith. Trust God because of who He is. I tell our youth this. Listen, if God is not in heaven, I don't want to go. Okay? Heaven is so great because God is there. That's why it's so great. That's why you read about the streets of gold. That's why you read about the perfection. It's because where God Himself is. We have got to fall in love with God Himself if we're ever going to make it through this life. Because all of us are going to face a furnace. Perhaps all these reasons that we have listed here is why that writer was able to write the words, "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus." Not because life's always easy. It isn't. Not because furnaces never come. Not because the prayers are always answered in the way that I want them to be answered, in the way I expect them to be answered. But because of this, Jesus is worthy of our trust. He has earned that. He has done everything to earn that. When the crowds bow, I want you to do this. I want you to trust in Him. Don't be tempted to bend down and tighten up your sandal strap and justify why you're doing what you're doing and how you can continue on serving God later. God needs you to serve Him today. Right now. When the furnace burns, trust Him. When the future is uncertain, trust Him. When the answer is yes, trust Him. When the answer is no, trust Him. And when the answer is this, but if not, I hope that you'll trust Him. Because you and I know this, whether or not we do, our God, He is able. Let's go to God in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before You and we're thankful. We're thankful for the congregation here at Central, the efforts that they're involved in. We're thankful for their ministers, Mr. Scott, and Mr. Randy, and Dalton. We're thankful for their elders that oversee and see things like this as important, that on a Thursday night we're gathered here together, that we're surrounding Your Word. Dear Lord, that we are learning at Your feet. We're thankful for moments like these. I ask that You bring great blessings upon them. Dear Lord, that they be encouraged through these efforts that they have made. And dear Lord, that lives are impacted. That there's a little child here tonight that will know Jesus because they came. Dear Lord, we thank You for opportunities. Help us to always trust in You. It's in Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.